Hey guys, it's Fallon, and today I am outside because it's actually really nice for once. And today I am here to show you how you can turn a pair of plain black Converse into these with leopard print and studs on the sides. And I actually saw a picture of this on I have an app called Trendable on my my phone, and I saw somebody posted a picture of shoes that look just like this, and I was like, I wonder if I can make those. So I tried, and they don't look exactly like them, but I think they turned out pretty well. So I'm going to show you guys how you can make them too. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so just before we get started here, there are a few materials you are going to be needing to complete this project. So we're just going to go ahead and make sure that we have everything that we need. First thing is you're going to need some material. You want to use thin, stretchy material because it's going to be really easy to work with. And I use leopard print because that's what I saw in the picture, and I just love leopard print, but you can use any print that you want. And you're also going to be needing some studs. Now, I ordered mine online, but if you don't have any and you don't want to order them, you can just take them off of an old belt or just go to a store and get a cheap belt and just get them off. And I have these two tools for poking holes and bending down the prongs, but you can just use a pair of pliers because I also ordered those online. And you want to need a pair of scissors, and you need a pair of sneakers. I use Converse Chuck Taylors, but you can just use any other canvas sneaker that is more of a high top, something of a similar style. And you're also going to be needing some super glue and a Q-tip to apply it with. So once you know that you have everything, the first thing that you want to do is take the laces out of the sneakers. And once the laces are out, we can start the fun part by bedazzling with some studs. So you just want to take your first stud and line the prongs up so they're side to side and they line up with the strip of fabric on the back of the shoe, and you want to line the top of the stud up with the stitching on the top of the shoe. Now, your studs may not be sharp enough to poke all the way through the material of the shoe without any help, so you might need to poke some holes in it on your own before you stick the stud through. I have a special tool that I actually ordered online with the kit that came with the studs that I have, but you can probably use a pair of scissors or something similar that just has a sharp point on the end. So you just want to poke one hole, and then you just want to stick the stud through and then line it up so you can poke another hole exactly where the other side of the stud is. And once you have two holes exactly the size of the stud, you can just push it right on through, and it might take a little bit of pressure, but just push it through so that the prongs are all the way through the inside of the shoe. And once you have pushed them all the way through, you just want to take, I have a special tool, but you can use a pair of pliers for this part. You just want to push down the prongs, and you want to push them actually right in as far as you can so that they're almost poking right into the shoe, because you don't want them to be loose so that they're going to fall off. And they can be a little bit tough. I had a little bit of a tough time doing one side of them, but once it's done, it should look like that. And then you just want to continue on until you have a line of 5 studs down the side of the shoe. So once you have the whole line done, it should look a little something like this. And it's okay if they're a little bit crooked because no one's really going to notice once you have them on your feet anyways. So we're going to start with the second line of studs, and we're going to put the prongs going up and down instead of side to side this time. And we're just going to line up another line of 5 studs exactly the same as the first line that we already have. So when it's done, you have 2 lines. It should look something like this. And then we're going to start off with the third line, and we aren't going to start at the top this time. We are going to start down 1. So we're going to skip 1 and just start another line. And then for the line after that, you're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to go down in a staircase pattern, and it should look just like this once you have it done. So you're going to go down all the way until you only have 1 stud left at the end. So now you're finished with the studding part of the shoes, and it is time to move on to the leopard print. And we're going to be putting it on the strip of fabric on the back of the shoe here. So just take your material and put it on the back just to get an idea for how big it is, because you're going to be cutting a rectangular strip out of your fabric that's only a little bit bigger than the rectangular strip on the back of the shoe. So once you've got that cut out, it should look a little something like this. And it's okay if it's quite a bit bigger, because you can just lay it on just like that and then cut off the excess. So then you should have something a little more like this, which is a little bit smaller, a little more scaled to size, that's the same size as the strip on the back of the shoe. Because what we are going to be doing is actually folding under a little bit and then gluing it with the super glue right onto the shoe. So starting with some super glue, you just want to take your little cotton swab or Q-tip or whatever you want to call it, and put a little bit of glue. Sorry for the terrible angle, you can't really see what I'm doing here. We just want to put a little bit of glue on the very edge of the strip of fabric on the shoe. Not the fabric, but on the shoe. And then you want to stick the fabric on there kind of upside down or inside out, or however you want to call that, so that when you flip it over, you are only going to see the pattern and not where you have the glue. So it's going to look like that when you flip it over. And then you just want to do the whole side of it like that, but you don't want to glue all the way up to the very top or all the way down to the very bottom. So leave a little bit of space. So moving right along here, if you have some extra fabric on the bottom, you just want to cut that off, because you only want a little bit of fabric to fold underneath, because if you have a bit too much, then you might get a bump underneath, and it's just going to make it look less natural. So you only want to have a little bit to fold under. So you do cut that off, just fold the little bit under that you have, because you're going to be creating a corner that's going to match up with the corner of the shoe where the rubber meets the fabric of the shoe. So we're just going to glue it as close to the rubber as you possibly can. So just taking your little Q-tip there and just squeezing it down. And then what you want to do is just move right onto the other side, and you're just going to do the exact same thing. So just fold underneath the excess fabric and take a little bit of glue, squish it down, and move along to the corner. Now I started gluing the fabric down in the middle and then working my way down to the corner. So once you have that done, you should have something like this, with just a strip of fabric kind of flapping around at the top, and the rest of it should be glued down. And you just want to cut the excess off the top just like you did the bottom, because we're going to be doing the exact same thing by folding the fabric underneath and gluing it down. So just kind of fold it into shape, put your glue down, and then squeeze it down just like that. So when you're done, it should look a little something like this. So it looks very natural, you don't have any jagged seams sticking out or anything like that, and everything should be stuck down pretty good. Okay, so now we are on to the last part of the shoe, the tongue. And I'm not going to lie, this part can be a little bit tricky. But how we're going to start, we're just going to lay the fabric over top of the shoe just to get an idea for how big of a square that we need. Because what we're going to be doing is be cutting out another rectangle, just like we did for the back of the shoe. And we want it to be a little bit bigger than our tongue, because we're going to be doing the same thing like we did for the first part, where we're going to be folding under the seams. So you just want to make sure it's big enough by laying it on top of the tongue of the shoe. We want to make sure we have enough to fold under the seams, because more than enough is better than not enough. And what we're going to do next is just kind of cut the corners off at an angle, so where the fabric touches the rubber is going to be a little bit smaller than where the fabric touches the top of the tongue. And then what you want to do is just fold underneath a little bit of material so that you have a nice even line there, and you just want to glue it down just like we did for a lot of the back part of the shoe. And you just want to put a little dab of glue, I know you can't really see it there, but just a little dab of glue right in the middle of where the tongue attaches to the rubber, and glue it as close to the rubber as you possibly can. And you might have to put your hand underneath so you can apply pressure on both sides, because the tongue has a tendency to bend underneath when you press on it. And then we're going to be folding a little corner underneath of the flap of material that covers the tongue. So you just want to fold under the excess and squish it under that side piece of shoe, So it's a little bit hard to see what I'm doing there, but you just fold it under and squish it underneath of that flap where the laces go under. And then you just want to glue it down and do the exact same thing to the other side. And I know that can be a little bit tricky, but once you have a hands-on experience, it gets a little bit easier. So you should end up with something like this, where the corners are glued down, but everything else is not. And we are going to move into that seam where the tongue is stitched into the side of the shoe. And we're going to be doing the exact same thing as we've been doing, just folding under a little bit of material and gluing it as close as possible as we can to that seam. So just stick your glue in there, fold under the seam, and apply some pressure until it's stuck tight and it doesn't want to move. And then you just want to do the exact same thing to the other side. And once you have it done to both sides, you should end up with the front part glued, and then you just have the rest of the flappy tongue. So there's no more seams, it's just folding under the excess material and gluing it as close to the edge of the tongue as you possibly can. And you want to do that on both sides. So once you have it done up to the not quite at the top, want to leave a little bit of room, just like we did for the back part of the shoe, because you're going to have a seam to fold underneath. You just want to cut the excess material off the top, and then once you have only a little bit of excess material, fold it under, put a little bit of glue on the middle of the top of the tongue, and apply pressure so it will be nice and stuck tight. And then all you should have left to do here is the corners, and it can be a little bit tricky because the corners of the tongue aren't square, they're round, but what you want to do is just tuck the excess material that you have in there and just kind of do your best to shape it a little bit circular so that it's not quite square. And then you just want to take your glue and glue it down, just like we've been doing for every other part. And once you've done it to the other side, it should look just like this. So everything is stuck down, and all you have left to do is lace them up. Now you just have to do the other shoe, and you have a studded leopard printed Converse, and you are ready to rock these babies out. If you guys like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you like the shoes or have any questions, please leave it in the comments below, and I'll be sure to get back to you guys as soon as I can. And if you guys decide to try this out and get creative with it on your own, please tweet me a picture because I'd love to see your guys' take on it, and please subscribe to my channel because I make new videos every week, so I will see you guys then. Bye!
Looks like he's got a beak.
I'm putting this in my video.
Oh, I better not tap on him because he might hide.